So I want to talk about Jenny's dad and the role men play in society and in family and in their children's lives, right? So in this season, season 3 of Jenny and Georgia, this is a season where Jenny's dad finally starts to understand the things that his daughter was experiencing throughout her childhood, right? Because he's a photographer, he's an artist, he's traveling around the world. He made it clear that they were young and he wanted to focus on his career, which is fair. She was 16, he was 17 when they had Jenny, right? And women need to understand it is on you because it's your body and your choice. It's on you. If you want to keep the baby against his will, men do not have to be responsible for them. That is how the cookie crumbles. You cannot force them to do anything different. And until y'all want to operate like that, you will continue to suffer and raise children alone and struggle with these men. These men will continue to drop babies in your uterus, and you'll sit around and act like you don't know how it happened to you and play victim to your own choices. This man came from an upper middle class or above Black family. And he went and had a baby with a white trash woman, right? An impoverished woman who grew up in trailer parks, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's so funny how men can make mistakes and come out pretty much unscathed, right? He was running around the world being young, wild, and free in South Korea and in South America, all these different places he would travel. He would pop in and out of his daughter's life. And then Jenny said herself in this season, she told her dad, she said, "Why are you trying to save me now? You're too late. You were supposed to save me when I was a little girl." This is what all men do. And this is a man who came from a good family. And of course, like any other Black mother, his mom was trying to get Georgia to let her raise Jenny because she would have been able to give her a more stable home. But Georgia had her own, in Georgia's reality, Georgia never questioned. Georgia didn't care that this man was running to and fro. Georgia let this man go wherever he wanted to go because Georgia knew who men were. And she said in this season that she had them because they gave her purpose. Her children gave her purpose. She never questioned. This is why I love Georgia as a dark feminine study, because Georgia never questioned him. Georgia didn't beg him. Georgia did what she needed to do because she was already in survival mode. She already knew who men were, right? So in Georgia's reality, he was a decent dude. She needed purpose in order to keep going. She needed emotional support children, and that's exactly what she had. Black mothers and Black women and women in general of all races think that they can control men. You can't control your man. You can't control your son. You can't make them do anything. And until women are really ready to sit with the fact that men's brains do not go certain places, that they are not leaders, because a leader's brain goes certain places in order to feel and exist in the same space as the people they are calling themselves leading. You cannot be a good leader if you don't have empathy. And there are men all over this app talking about how they don't, exposing themselves on how they don't remember their children's names, their middle names, their birth dates, their teachers' names, their friends' names, the schools they go to. Men don't know anything, and yet somehow women expect them to be leaders and heads of households. Y'all better stop pacifying these men. This man was so shocked that his daughter lived in a house with a man who was going to attempt to violate her, who touched her inappropriately for a year. That means for a minimum of a year, you didn't see your child because you didn't even know where she was living, right? They don't care because they can't. They don't care because they can't. They don't care because they can't care. And I need women to understand that. And it's not their fault, right? Now, it's their fault if they don't develop themselves, but you can't hold them accountable for that because you're not developing yourself either, okay? Women have to understand that men are not leaders. And if you can't lead a household, if you can't even remember your child's birthday, you can't lead the world without completely destroying it. Look around. Okay? So, women have to sit with this. And as long as women don't sit with this, those of us who do understand cannot become collateral damage for arrestedly developed women who want to live in fairy tale land. Okay? Georgia never asked this man to do anything when he wasn't in her presence because she knew who men were. She never had the luxury of being in a bubble or having a rose-colored, romanticized Disney version of the relationships dynamics between men and women. She never had that luxury. So her expectations for Jenny's dad, even though he was a good man, he was as good as a good man can be, right? On average. And women will spend a lifetime trying to search for the needle in the haystack. There is no such thing as a good man in the way we define good as women. That is why they are saying the best of the best men are just an average woman. And that is factually facts. Y'all are expecting men's brains to operate like women when their brains don't. It like literally can't. And then they would have to do so much work in order for them to be able to think nearly as close as a woman. And you expecting that of them is actually not fair. They're actually not that bright. And the fact that he didn't know any of this stuff was happening is because ultimately he don't care because he can't care. When he found out, he tried to do something about it 16 years later, and his kid had to tell him it's too late now. You should have saved me back then. You either want to see the truth, you want to know the truth, or you don't. And those of us who do want to know the truth, no matter how dark, we will not be letting people who want to live in fairy tale land destroy us and take us down with them. Men will always save themselves. Men will always choose self. And when it's your body, your choice, they have that right. You can argue with your mama about it. Men have the right to run away from children they don't want to have because they aren't tethered to them. Y'all cannot possibly expect until men start carrying children for 9 months, y'all expectations of them need to be reduced severely. Y'all been grading them on a curve. Keep grading them on a curve. I don't grade men on a curve. I understand who they are and I opt out because that's the only smart solution.